Hey, what is up everyone? Today I'm taking a look at the high-grade Blazing Gundam. Once again, this is another video that would not have been possible without those absolutely awesome people over at Hobbylink Japan. So if you want some plastic model kits or gunpla all of your own, link down there in the description. So as usual, jumping right on into what you get inside this box once you put it all together, and that is the high-grade Blazing Gundam itself. When it comes to the weapons, we've got those beam tonfas, a pair of beam sabers. Alternate parts include a white front to the head, that is an alternate section to what we have on here, which is the orangey color front of face. We've got that effect kicking part, and we've got 4 alternate hands, not including the 2 that are already attached to the Blazing Gundam. But speaking about the Blazing Gundam, before we take a look at anything here, let's talk a little bit about the build. So inside of this box right here, we've got the high-grade Blazing Gundam from the recent Gundam Breaker BATTLOGUE. Now when it comes to the actual model kit right here, this is the 2010 version of the high-grade God Gundam with some extra new parts. So that does mean at its core, this is an 11, almost 12-year-old Gundam. At the end of the day, I feel it doesn't suffer too much from it, but it does feel quite dated compared to the last 2 kits we would have taken a look at from the exact same series. Those 2 kits, of course, were the Live Lance Heaven, an absolutely killer kit, and the high-grade Gundam Helios, also a ridiculously good kit. This, however, as of the build, doesn't feel as modern as those 2 and feels a little bit dated in a few different aspects. However, the new aspects to this kit for the Blazing Gundam that have been dated 2021 definitely feel really nice. But yeah, that's enough about the build. Let's talk about the aesthetics. So jumping into that full 360-degree spin as usual, so you can see every angle, every part of this kit, so you can make your own judgment whether or not you like this. As for what I think about it, this actually turned out better than I thought it would visually, even though it's based on a 2010 kit. Now, I never built the high-grade God Gundam, so it seems like it's quite a good kit at its core, especially considering the age. The new parts and the old parts gel together really well, and the only real difference you'll notice with them isn't really visual, what you're looking at here. It's more in the build and the nipping off the runners more than anything else. But visually, this looks great. The angles are nice, seam lines, mold lines are minimal, not really anywhere that you'd notice. Everything looks like nice armor separation. The colors are simple and subdued, which is very, very nice. And there is plenty of opportunity for panel lining. Not a crazy amount, but plenty. There's a couple of stickers on this, but again, these are only black, simple stickers. So on the whole, visually, this is quite nice. So jumping in a little bit closer for a closer look, and I will mention first off, I did panel line this kit on the front, so around back it is a little bit on the bare side. It just literally came in the door from Hobbylink today. That is not to say there isn't anything to panel line around back. There is plenty. This has some nice surface detailing. I put in that extra couple of minutes and it will look great. As for what I used to panel line, I used these Poor Style Gundam markers. So I used the gray on the white and I used a brown one on the yellow. Gray also went onto that nice orange. Like I mentioned, this kit does come with some color correcting stickers, but these are not bad. There's what the sheet of stickers looks like when they are not used, and I used all but one for some reason or another, I'm not sure why. And all these are various different black areas on the kit. That is it. Just some recessed areas. So when it comes to sticker styles, those ones I personally don't find that bad because they're hard to tell that they're stickers because they're in a little bit. As for the last 3 stickers, which are those metallic shiny ones that are 5, 6, and 7, those are just up on the head cameras on its head, so once again, not so bad. We've got some for on this orange face mask, and we have some for on the white variant of the head that we'll take a look at a little bit later on. So yeah, when it comes to all the visual aesthetics on this is quite good. Mold lines and seam lines are quite minimal. The sculpt is great, and the knobs at the same time, just like everything else, aren't that apparent. Honestly, just as a straight built kit, this looks great. And one thing I really have to point out that Bandai did very nicely on this is around on the back of the head, or I mean, when you look from behind the head, the orange mask segment is that little bit thicker than the white back of head to make it actually look like a mask. That is a nice little bit of detail right there. So once again, jump back to the beginning to that full overview so you can see every accessory that comes in this kit all together. Now let's take a look at them one by one. So first off, when it comes to the hands in here, we've had these fists that have been on here the whole time. Now these are a little bit wonky. They fall out just with a little bit of movement. You might be just trying to set up a pose, just move it the wrong way, and it can just end up falling out. A little looser than your average high-grade kit. So the second pair of hands in here that don't have anything to do with the weaponry are these, well, color-swapped God finger hands. Now these are a little strange and kind of look like he's going live long and prosper a bit because they're not in orange. So, yeah. So because in the original high grade, I assume these were made out of a kind of rubbery, translucent orange plastic, these aren't made out of the same plastic as the rest of the kit. These are actually made out of a soft rubber, which means they do have a lot of, well, kind of like mold lines and gnarly bits, and the sculptor print just isn't really that pretty. Of course, from any kind of realistic distance, you're never going to notice that, and it is nice to have some different kind of hands in here. Lastly, then we have a standard pair of holding hands, and these are for holding onto the weaponry we're about to talk about. But first, I will mention swapping these hands is the usual routine, ball joint attachment. So the first of the weapons we have in here are the pair of beam tonfas, and according to the instructions, these are a pair of melee weapons mounted on the back, which can be equipped on the left and right arms. They can generate beam blades from their tips, and can also be used as normal tonfas. Their special shape allows them to be used for striking attacks and for defense. So we get two of these in here with some green beams, a long one and a short one because these are the beams that would have been from G Gundam's beam sabers. These pop into the hands in the usual way of just popping them in just like so. The other one then just pops into the other side like this, and these seem to hold on quite well. These right here can be used with or without the beams, just like it says in the instructions. So to remove the beams, just pull them out like this. When they're not in use anymore, you can store those tonfas up on the backpack, just like so. I will mention these don't seem to hold on too well, and they're very, very easy to knock off. Kind of like the hands. Bit of a recurring theme. So next up in here, we've got a pair of beam saber handles. Now, you can shove the exact same beams into these handles because these are G Gundam's beam sabers. These can be held in the hands exactly the same as what we would have seen with the tonfas, but now they're beam sabers, and when they're not in use, just pull out the beams, and then you can store them on these side skirting armors, just like this. So next up in here, we've got the green effect part for using to display the Blazing Gundam doing the Bakunetsu Bakusai Blazing Kick. And what it says in the instructions about this is that it is the thrusters throughout the body are used to their limits, and the Blazing Gundam unleashes a super high speed flying kick during its strongest finisher. Its toe glows in a dazzling emerald green color during the kick. So we've had Shining Finger before and God Finger. Guess this is Shining Toes? So I will admit this does not look great. So I do have to mention this does look quite basic. If you look at it directly from the side, you're actually able to see into where it clips together. So it's not the most vigorous effect part ever. Actually, if I was to give this a vigorous level from 1 to 10, I'd probably give it a 1. Attaching this involves whipping off the Blazing Gundam's whole foot. You will need to grab this armor section off the front like this, then you attach it on to the emerald green foot like so, and then that just reconnects into the Blazing Gundam just like that. So the last alternate part we have in here is the alternate head part. So first off, that's what we've been looking at through the whole thing. And that is the head with the blazing mask. So this doesn't just come off. You have to basically disassemble the head almost entirely. So that means pulling off the entire V-fin and pulling off the front of the head till you get to this point. So basically this is a kit more that you choose which version to build as opposed to this being swappable. But anyway, once we attach on the alternate parts, there is what it looks like without the mask on. So once again, there is with the blazing mask on, and there it is with the blazing mask off. It would have been nice if Bandai just included an alternate head as opposed to having to go through with this, but I guess you can just decide to use one or the other. So now jumping into the articulation, and as usual, we're going to be working from the head down. As for the general build and structural integrity on this kit, it is quite solid, but a lot of the joints and the makeup of this is a little bit dated from the 2010 God Gundam. So starting off with the head, and we've got the usual giggity goo polycap in here. There's the head looking all the way up, looking all the way down, side to side tilt, and a full spin. Pretty good. The shoulder polycap in here is aligned forward to back, so that means the arm can move forward and back, just like this. We've got the full 360 spin there, and then raising the arm all the way up. That is not bad at all. We've got that full spin at the upper arm. Next up, as for the bend at the elbow, that is pretty weak. It's about 90 degrees only. On the back of the forearm, we've got these, which are referred to as the Blazing Boost Protectors. They move out just like so, and that does look pretty cool. Apparently these are for boosting the punches, so it's got some rocket thumps. Usual ball joint here at the wrist, but it can pop out quite easily. So now moving down to the waist, and this is quite unique. So we've got that usual polycap ball in there, but we've got this little bit that's kind of loose in here. And what that actually does is keep the Blazing Gundam from moving all the way down, so the polycap retains nearly all of the movement. That is a smart way to get a lot of movement out of a typical ball joint. So forward, back, side to side, and the full spin all the way around, but there is nothing inside the torso itself. The front skirting armors can flip up just like so, and down you can snip them apart on the runner if you want to move them independently. The side skirts here, these can only move up and down. There is no forward and back on them, but the segments which the beam sabers attach into, well, they can rotate forward and back, but bye-bye beam saber. Around on the back then, we've got a paralyzed butt flap. So there is a moving mechanism inside the hips. It's the classic high grade one, can move forward and back like so. For one reason or another, it is in white plastic, even though there is a gray one as well on the runner. This one can also move slightly side to side. So as for the kicks in here, there it is all the way to the front, so about bog standard. There it is out to the back, not great. And as for the splits, yeah, you pretty much get the full splits there. Next up, we do have the full spin at the upper leg. There is our bend at the knee, so definitely classic, not too bad, but at the same time, not fantastic. And then we do have this cool little gimmick on the back of the leg here, which allows this to move out and swing up just like that. That's nice. Next up, getting that foot on the ground to test out the functional movement, and there it is all the way to the front. That was very blunt feeling. There it is all the way out to the back. So nice out to the back, out to the front a little bit limited. And as for the side to side, that is about average. The ankle armor does not move, and nothing at the toe. Finally, around to the backpack, and even though this looks like there's a whole lot going on here, nothing moves at all. Actually, I'm gonna check. I assume this has the normal backpack adapter. Yes, it does. So as for the articulation on the high-grade Blazing Gundam, this is alright. I would say basic at best. A lot of the joints are very limited, quite classic feeling, and there's a lot of parts on this that don't move at all. Sure, you will eke out some standard poses, but that's going to be about it. So anyway, that right there is it for the review of the high-grade Blazing Gundam, and this is the third kit I've seen so far from Gundam Breaker BATTLOGUE. So I have to say, compared to the other two, this one is a little bit of a disappointment, and once again, like a lot of build kits, even though this doesn't say build in its name, it's the same kind of vibe, it does base too much on too old of a kit, and that really does show. If you're not really a big fan of articulation and that doesn't mean too much to you, that won't be such a big deal. When it comes to the overall looks, this does look quite cool. Everything holds up quite well, a lot of the G Gundam parts hold up well too, and the new parts look cool. Accessories wise, we do have a few things in here. The beam tonfas are cool, but they are just glorified beam sabers. The beam effect for using with the foot isn't the greatest, and when it comes to the mask, that is a nice extra, but I do feel it would have been nicer to have a full alternate head, as opposed to having to disassemble the head to choose which one to use. Lastly then, when it does come to the articulation, this is quite dated by today's standards. It is based on a 2010 build, albeit a very good 2010 build, but it does not feel like a modern kit that would be releasing in 2021. And speaking of 2021, by 2021 standards, the Blazing Gundam is sadly bronze tier. For me, I feel its only redeeming factor is the fact that it looks quite good, but besides that, it does drop the ball in a lot of different ways. But if you do want one of your own, you can get yours where I got mine, and the link is down there in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to come back for more Gunpla reviews, and I will see you next time. Once again, I cannot finish this video right here without thanking those who support me here on the channel as members and over on Patreon, including Craig Jerry, Caleb Engelhardt, Van Fawn, Global Frequency Studios, Lauren Seahack, Joseph Kukluk, Mr. Winter, Forsetti, Joe, Org59061, and Gunpla UK Limited.